Hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Think Nima podcast. I'm your host Nima, and today I'm going to be speaking with my guest Numan. Numan
How's it
is
going?
a good bro. I'm going to give a little third person background of you, so it's going to seem a bit odd, but then we can get started in the conversation. um, Numan, for people that don't know him, is a multi-disciplinary creative based in Manchester, UK, who has been described as a serial entrepreneur. He's been releasing music since 2009, had a clothing brand and a boba tea business, and is most recently known for his NFT collectible characters, the Gumbos and the Gumbinos, which are these figurines that come in digital and physical forms and have been doing quite successfully. You can check out his work on Twitter and Instagram under Numan UK and see what he's all about. So, Numan, welcome to the show, man. How are you doing today?
Yeah, good man, good. Just tired. I've been running around with trying to get these Gumbinos from UPS.
Oh,
So
yeah.
been a long day today.
Fair. Yeah, I heard about those Gumbinos. Um, so I gave a brief overview of your background in the intro, from what I know, but could you start by people sort of the background story of what your journey has been and what you were doing prior to NFTs?
Um, yeah. So basically, I was involved in music around um 15, 16 years old. I started off in music, just producing music, and around this time, grime and dubstep was really blowing up, like the early stuff that came from UK garage and just jungle and stuff like that. So I got involved in the whole music space. At this time, I think I was in school. I was probably in like year 11, going into college. Um, so yeah, I was doing that for a number of years. Ended up going uni. I was supposed to go to Japan with the Red Bull Music Academy, and that didn't happen because of the nuclear disaster. So I ended up going uni. Hated it. Just was there for no reason. To be honest, didn't really give a shit about it. Um, and it got to the point where I was doing pretty well in music. I had a major record deal, and just producing for a lot of artists. And it got to the point where I either needed to start doing shows and DJing and stuff, or just do music because in the music space, I mean, most of the money people are earning was from DJing or doing shows, and I didn't really want to do shows. I wasn't really into it, and at that point, um, yeah, I kind of just fell out of love with the whole producing music and stuff, and was just a bit bored of it. And I had a bit of a following at this point, so then I started doing clothing. And it done pretty well. But again, there's a lot of running around. I've done that for about 3 years. It done pretty well. It was featured on Complex, and everything I'd put out would pretty much go. Yeah, it'd pretty much go, but it was a lot of hard work, a lot of running around, and um, just a lot of effort. And I was doing this whilst working a full-time job. So whilst all this was going on, um, yeah, again, one of them things where I thought it just doesn't make sense. Even though you're passionate about something, it needs to make money. Like there's only a certain amount of time you can go and do something, and you're enjoying it, and then you realize I'm not actually making money from this. I need to kind of, I can't keep treating this as something that's going to um, make me continue carrying on if there's not enough money coming in, or the profits weren't working out. It just wasn't right the way it was set up. And then last year, I set up a bubble tea business. I was doing that every Saturday, so working a full-time job and still doing the bubble tea business on Saturdays. Um, at this point, I was in like 30k debt. So anything I would earn from my day job would go towards paying off debt, and anything I'd make on Saturdays doing the bubble tea from home, that would be my money for the week. I had to make sure I was doing that because that would be my money for the week to live on. And that was going on for about 3 months. Then I think one day last Feb, I was scrolling on Instagram and seeing D Block Europe sell an NFT of picture as an NFT. At that point, I basically just went on Twitter. I didn't use Twitter at this point for a couple of months, and just got into that world. Seen someone tweeting about. I think there was about 3, 4 people tweeting about it. A-tailed egg that was buying everything. I think at that point had about um 12 or something followers, and literally as soon as I put something up, the first tweet I got back was, "I've just bought your first ever NFT." And since then, nothing's been the same really.
Amazing story, man. A lot of different pit stops along the way. So Why boba tea? And like what was it like running that boba tea business?
So with the boba tea thing, basically, the thing with the boba tea business was where I live in Wally Range, there's no bubble tea businesses out there, and during this time, everyone was setting these tea shops up in Russia, and there was, these chai shops that was being set up everywhere. And I thought, hold on a minute, why don't I just make one, but infuse it with bubble tea? Why don't I do boba and
Hmm.
chai? It would work. It would work. And I had queues literally outside the house. I was doing it from a space in the back of the house. It was all sterilized. It was all clean and stuff like that. But I had queues literally on Saturday for people queuing up to buy the tea, pre-ordering and stuff like that. And the reason I've done it is because the closest you need to go to get something like that is Chinatown. And it worked. It's still, the page is still active. I don't do it, but it's a1.t on Instagram, and the branding was on point too. That's one thing I'm good at, making shit look good. And
Hmm.
everything just worked. Everything just worked. I did like bubble tea as well, but yeah, everything was working well. And then when I was doing this NFT stuff, um, on the Saturdays, I think at that point I realized, hold on a minute, it's taking me fucking 20 minutes to cup a tea in for £4, and it's just me doing it. And I was making like £200-300 just selling art, and then I just quit. I just stopped it. I just thought, right, this doesn't add up. As much as I enjoy doing it, it's taking me 20 minutes to make a tea and selling for £4. It just, something's not added up here. And then yeah, I just heavily got involved in that space, and nothing was the same really. But now I'm kind of in a position where everything comes back. The way I see it is pretty smart. The way I work is pretty smart. So for example, I dropped a new brand called Seed Phrase, and the whole idea is you buy a Seed Phrase stock, you get whitelist for a new project of mine. So in a way, it's full circle. Everything comes back to me. So the way Gumbinos work is you buy Gumbino, you get access to whitelist to the fuzzies. So everything works full circle. For example, I had a career in music. I'm going to be dropping songs under the title The Fuzzies, and it's going to be the Fuzzies featuring whoever, but I'm the one behind it all, and
Hmm.
it's all coming back to me. It all just adds up. It's just a full circle loop.
Yeah, man. That's a good way of doing things. So you've obviously been involved with all these different industries, clothing, music, boba tea, and now visual art and NFTs.
Yeah.
Um, have you always had this sort of creative urge to make things? And do you know where that urge comes from?
Yeah, I've always been into that. Like I've always, from when I was 15, 16 years old, there was always one thing I followed in life, is that, no matter how much someone inspires you, just do not make it that's as good as someone else. So for example, if I was inspired by Cause, I would not make, people easily fall into a trap where they're making something very similar to what they're inspired by. And that's where you will only be as big as the person you're inspired by. You're going to be the second best because your work just looks like someone else's. So I've always followed that mindset since I was 15, 16 years old. And I think that's the reason why I make what I do. Like, there's no other character like Gumbino in the space.
Mm.
There's literally nothing like it at all. So this is one thing I've always followed since I was 15, 16, and I'm hungry for it. Like, I've got a passion for it. I enjoy doing it. Like there's times where I had work at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I had a t-shirt idea at 4 a.m. I'd literally go in the back and set up the heat press and go make something straight away and post it on Insta. 20 minutes later, knowing no one's going to be awake because I'm that impatient and just want to get it out.
Yeah, I relate with that for sure. Um, so you said it sort of started from when you were 15, 16. How was your experience with art and creativity when growing up as a kid and in school or university? Like, how did you see art and creativity?
I don't really come from a family which is heavy on art and music and stuff like that. I don't really come from sort of a house full of music and art happening and stuff like that. So for me, I think when I actually got a laptop or got the internet on DSL, that's when I explored a lot of shit. Like that's what opened up a lot of new avenues for me. For example, I was on a lot of grime forums. I was on music forums and stuff like that. And art, like it's just whatever I seen online. Um, and then later on down the line, I started going to like galleries, museums, exhibitions, and shit like that. But before that, I wasn't really not open. I would say I wasn't really. I didn't have access to anything like that.
Hmm. I relate with that actually. I mean, we've had different paths and different interests, but for me, it was the same as well. I also don't come from a particularly creative family or like a family where people are like expressing themselves all the time. And also in school, I just creativity or and art didn't really stick for me at all. And it was around the same time, so 15, 16, and around the same time I got internet, where my world got opened up to like the digital world and the internet and everything on there, and that kickstarted it. So yeah, I relate with that as well. But like a big thing that I think about nowadays is education, just because I feel like the education system is so bad. It doesn't teach anyone. Well, I don't know. I can't generalize that big, but for creativity especially, I don't think creative thinking is uh, sort of taught well or communicated well at all.
I mean, I
Um,
don't think it needs to be. I mean, the basics for me, I think the basics need to be taught. Yeah, but other than that, just you don't need someone telling you how to paint a picture of the sunset. Like, do what you need to do. Just
for sure.
at the end of the day, everyone's going to look at stuff different. If a teacher was teaching me how to paint a photo and there's a class full of 30 other students, why the hell would I want to paint something that's going to look like the same work as 30 other students? It just,
Yeah,
so the
100%.
basics, yeah, maybe I understand, but other than that, you don't need a degree or you don't need,
No,
you
no, no,
know,
not at all.
an education to create.
No, yeah, I think it's just like being encouraged to explore more than anything.
Yeah.
It's like being encouraged to explore what you actually like to do. But no, that's cool. That's good to know your background. So let's fast forward to NFTs. You mentioned that like you first saw a post on Instagram about NFTs and then you go into it. So how did you go from that first point into to Gumbos and yeah, to Gumbos?
So at the start, obviously, because I knew how to make clothes, I knew how to use Photoshop pretty good. So for me, it was the first ever piece that I listed was a 2D, a piece called Euphoria on Rarible. I listed 100 of them for 0.0, I think it was, and it was literally a piece I made on Photoshop. And for the first 2 months, I think it was just making stuff I made on Photoshop, and it was doing well. It was selling. Um, and then I realized a lot of stuff on Rarible and all these platforms, it's just literally 3D hologram spinning coins and shit, Elon Musk art, Dogecoin art. It was just full of it. And I didn't understand anything to do with 3D art at this point. I didn't get any of it. And I literally was on Blender 9 hours a night, every single night for the first, 6 months, just figuring out how to sculpt and how to actually use this program. And then at the time, I started thinking about characters and collectibles, and when I was obviously younger, I knew what Mr. Oizo was. That it was that yellow fuzzy character that it's a music character basically, and Sesame Street. So I was inspired by all that kind of stuff, and obviously cores and Bearbrick and stuff like that. I thought, right, I need to make this character that I I don't know. I just came up with it. I don't really. Sometimes I have ideas and they come out the complete opposite. It always happens. So for me, that's how Gumbo came along.
Mm. And then how was that a progression from the Gumbos?
The whole idea behind Gumbos was that so Gumbo got to a point where because I didn't understand anything to do with resales, editions, or anything like that. I didn't get I was just listing these things when and where, and they'd sell out. But it got to a point where I received a message from a collector saying, I've just bought 10 of these. What's the plan? What's the game here? What's like, yo, what do you mean you bought 10? Who told you to buy 10? Like, I didn't understand the whole resale market and shit. I didn't, I just didn't. I didn't really look into it when I first got into NFTs. I didn't understand any of it. And then it got to a point where, right, okay. I mean, there's a lot of gumbos out there. I think it was like 460 or something like that. And then I thought, right, I need to build a bit of storyline here, and yeah, I need to progress this further. I need to kind of build a storyline and come up with something that relates to Gumbo. So I came up with Gumby, the whole idea being that this is going to be the baby, and the way it's designed is that it basically would eventually turn into a physical. So that thing in the back of my head was always the plan. It being a physical toy, that was always there. That was the plan from day one when it was designed.
Mm. So how did you say? Did you see it as a toy or a collectible, or like what sort of audience were you looking for, or were you not looking for a particular audience?
Yeah, I wasn't really looking for an audience to be honest, but the audience, yeah, I mean the audience that the kind of audience that it attracts people that are into, you know, collectibles such as cores, bear bricks, Funko Pops, super plastic. That is that kind of audience, and that's the audience I want to be. You know, collecting the stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you started making them in physical form as well. How is that going? Like, how are you finding the physical side of things? And do you think you're going to continue doing physical?
Yeah, it's non-stop. So at the moment, this year, the plan is that I'm still deciding whether it's going to go into a high-end retailer or independent, whether I just sell it on a website alone. Reason being is because Gumbinos never meant to be a mass market project. It was never meant to be, you know, mass market NFT project where if you get one, you basically, you know, you're always going to get physical. The whole idea was it was only supposed to be capped at 100 or about 120, and then at that point it would then um, be recognized by people that aren't even in the NFT world. And the whole idea was that they'll do their own thing separately, regardless of the NFT. And the physicals will own market as a physical toy itself, and then anyone who has bought the NFT, they'll get access to different things. For example, the fuzzies drop.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a cool model. Um, from all the industries you've been involved in, like the music, clothing, all that stuff, um, and then now, let's say the Web3 NFT world, what sort of yeah, what sort of differences do you see, or like what things surprised you about the NFT world that you didn't see in the previous industries?
So obviously everyone's very helpful in this space, and you know, there's no rules. There's no rules. For example, you're not restricted to what you can and can't make. In music, there's always a thing where if you're producing a song, people want to find out what genre it is. They want to put it in a box. They want to put it in a bracket and see where it fits in. Um, but with obviously NFTs, you can literally it can be anything, and you know the community is great. I've been to literally about 5 different countries just from NFTs and Web3 related, and a lot of the events are just full of coders that just you know they just want to learn. They just want to get involved in shit. Um, and yeah, it's a different world full of people who are pretty clued on. They know what's going on, and they just want to build really.
Mm. Yeah, the community aspect is very vibrant, and there's a lot of talent in it for sure. That's a very good thing right now. Obviously, it will continue to change as more and more people get in, but it is exciting space. One thing that I um, found interesting is that you said like during a lot this time or at the start of it, you had a full-time job. So the question is like, how did you find the time to create all this stuff while having a
Well,
full-time?
well, the problem was it gave me a problem with sleep. So I'd be working from 9 to 5, from 6 till um 3. I'd be on Blender and same shit every day for a good 6 months. And to be honest, that's the same situation now. So my typical day would be waking up, because I'm working from home now, waking up, turning the computer on, doing what I need to do on the computer for work. Around 2 p.m. I'll turn the laptop on, and just turn around and just do what I need to do on Twitter and Blender and stuff till about 6, 7. I'll probably have something to eat. Around 8, yeah, about 9, 10. Again, I'll get back on Blender and just do what I need to do. Around 2, 3 a.m. I'll check in with my suppliers in Asia, or just still, and yeah, after that, sleep for a few hours and then same shit again every single day.
That,
So you know you got to make a few you got to make a few compromises and stuff like that. Like it's not for me. I've put the time. I know for a fact that, you know, if I feel like I know for a fact I've put the time and that's given me what I deserve now. Like I've put hours into this shit. Like, you know, not just chilling out, like creating for the last 10, 15 years, the amount of stuff I've done just generally in the city. Um, I feel like I've put a lot of time and effort into being where I am now, and this is the reward.
yeah, hard work pays off. Like eventually, that's the good thing about it. Like after a while, you will start to see the benefits, and that's a cool thing.
Yeah.
So let's shift to music for a bit. I was in preparation for this. I was listening to your music this morning. Um, what was the song? I like the song a lot. I think it was called "Dancing on the Moon." That was my favorite.
Yeah. So the whole idea with that EP was that it's inspired by Mason Margiela. So what they done was they released a perfume range, and every single title on that EP it's named after a perfume. The whole idea behind their perfumes is that it reminds you of a scent. For example, when you look at the labels, it says barbershop. The whole idea is it smells like a barbershop. Um, for example, Flower Market, they've got another one called Flower Market. It smells like flowers. And what I done was made songs based off the title. So, for example, Dancing on the Moon, what would that sound like to me in the form of a song? Um, that's what that was inspired by.
That makes sense. Yeah, that was a dope song and a dope EP. How would you describe your music?
Very experimental. There's times where, I put out a lot of music and just regret putting it out. There's times where once the song's released, I'd never ever listen to it again. So there is stuff like that, but now I'm a bit more focused on, you know, just concentrating on it because I am now working with a lot of artists in the space, getting them involved in the NFT space and stuff like that. But I'm also finding time to focus on music now again, when I can.
And the style of music that you make, you mentioned before, sort of jungle and dubstep, where you
Yeah,
take.
it's pretty experimental. It's just whatever I feel at the time. It's very experimental. There's no sort of genre or any idea. When I open a laptop to make music, I don't have a idea in my head that of what I'm gonna make that day. It's just whatever comes out.
Mm. And how active is your music career, would you say? Like, you reckon it's going to be a big thing in the future, still?
At the moment, it's not really active. At the moment, it's not. But once the fuzzies drop, then people will see it. This thing's gonna be a whole band. This thing's gonna be like, the whole idea behind the fuzzies is IRL events. I'm still in contact with people I was involved in music with 15 years ago. And the whole idea is with this thing IRL events, and this thing's going to be like pretty much the gorillas. These fuzzy characters are going to be basically, characters. It's going to be a band. It's going to be a band featuring artists and shit singing and stuff like that. That's the whole idea behind it.
Well, that's super cool. And are you going to be mostly producing still?
Yeah, mostly like 99% producing all of it.
What do you use to produce? Ableton or?
No, Fruit Loops and yeah, just Fruit Loops at the moment, and a MIDI keyboard and a Akai LPD 25.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I'm gonna start making music at some point. I remember when I was a kid, first time someone asked me like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" My answer was musician, and then
Yeah.
that dream got squashed very very quickly, and then now I'm making my way back
Mm.
to it. But yeah, music is a beautiful thing. Do you see yourself as more of a musician or a visual artist?
Um, at the moment, an artist, like I can't, I can't predict what. Um, but well, I mean, now I'm in a situation where I'm tied down, which I don't mind. I'm tied down to doing what I do with the whole Gumbinos, the fuzzies, and the whole thing I'm doing now. But there's ways of incorporating it. People just think NFTs have to be art. They have to be something that you see. I think a lot of people don't understand it can be anything. So I think it's going to be a fine balance between the two, and they're both going to work hand in hand. For example, anything art related is going to relate to the music I drop. You might see a Gumbino album cover or something like that. So
Mm.
everything's going to link in and tie up together.
Yeah, it's really cool that you can actually make all of this yourself, like the visual art and then also the music. Uh, and obviously you have the connections to run events and stuff like that. So there's a lot of potential, like 100%, and I'm sure you feel it. So no, that's really exciting to see.
Yeah, man, it should be a fun ride.
Um, so we're both based in Manchester. How do you think of Manchester? Are you gonna stay here
Um,
on time
yeah,
or?
I am. I am. It's home, but I'm hardly here at the moment. I literally just got back from LA, I think, last week. I might be going to Amsterdam in 10 days, I think. And then after that, I'm gonna try and take it easy till June and not go anywhere till NFT NYC. That's the plan, but stuff changes. Like, I only found out I'm going to LA 2 days before I actually went. Um, so home's home, man. Like, I've done a lot in the city. So it's nice that it's all respected, and I can do whatever I want here. Like, there's no, I can literally do whatever I want. The studios in town, studios in North Quarter, and everything's just, you know, I've always lived here, so it is home, and it's nice to know that I can, you know, I've got a lot of friends doing creative shit in the city that I can literally just call up and pop round and go over and talk to them about things.
Yeah, no, it's good to have a base like that. And just build it up. So NFT collectibles, like obviously they've gotten crazy. Like there's all sorts of now, and uh, quite different to how when you started with the Gumbos, like last year. Quite different scene now. If anyone was going to start their own collectible NFT series, what advice would you give them?
Um, that's a tough one, man. Advice.
Or any guidance or things to
I
think
mean,
about?
either make sure the art's good enough that no one gives a shit about utility. That's one thing. Or second of all, you know, uh, just just bring something in that's not like any other project, really. But yeah, they're the two things I'd say.
No, that's good. It's good pointers. Yeah, the art's good enough so it doesn't need utility. That's a good one. Because yeah, things are just being packed with utility now. I think out of fear that they're not going to sell based on their own art, which could
Yeah.
be a problem. So I've asked this question to like all my guests now. So I'm gonna ask it again now. But what is your definition of success? Like, at what point do you think you'll be able to stand back and say, like, you know what, this is good enough. I've done it.
That's a good question, man. That's a good question. I think for me at the moment would be probably being able to have a queue outside a shop for, you know, literally a riot for people trying to buy Gumbinos. That's one thing I'd love to see because that would be pretty fun, to be honest. But yeah, at that point, I think, yo, this is yeah, I'm done. You know, this is it. This is what I wanted to see. I'm done, man.
People writing up and down Gumbinos. Yeah, that's a good goal. Success is a weird term, a weird concept. Like, 'cause at times, if like I don't know, with the journey that I'm on to, it feels like it's a
Yeah.
never-ending journey. And maybe it probably is never-ending. Really, I don't think you'll be
Mm.
fully ever satisfied. But I think it's also good to like nice have them and recognize, like, and maybe not go on forever and just like
Yeah.
self destruct. It's yeah, it's quite a tricky thing. Cool. Yeah, the main thing. Yeah, what have you got coming up? Fuzzies, is that the main thing right now?
Yeah, that's going to be about 2 months. I think we've got about 3 or 4 left of Gumbino one of ones. There may potentially be a drop for the Gumbinos, or I think it's going to be it's going to be with the stockist, or I'm going to sell them independently without the NFTs.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, yeah, and the fuzzies are. I mean, the fuzzies idea sounds super exciting, especially now that you said they're going to be a band. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm excited for the music side of things to come through.
yeah, that should be good, man. That should be different to what's out there at the moment.
Awesome. So yeah, do you have any other things you want to say? Any other closing remarks or things you want to tell people? Things you want people to know?
No, man, I'm good. How are you anyway? How's things? What usually got coming up?
I'm good. I'm working on a bunch of different stuff as well. So this podcast is a new endeavor, newish. So that's been fun, just like getting to know people one on one, and all of that. So this podcast is exciting for me right now.
Yeah,
Apart from that, yeah, I did some utility NFTs. I'm still doing the one of one art NFTs. There's a collection in the works, but I'm not gonna release it yet until there's a bit more action. Um, yeah, just art and NFTs really, and then seeing where that goes.
oh, sick, man. Yeah, 100%. There's you know, it's always going to continue. You know, I
Yeah,
think it's going to get to a point in NFTs where people are going to start experimenting on different platforms a lot more because certain ones are just going to be flooded or they're going to be dying out. Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen here.
yeah, man. I'm excited to see what how the music creeps back into your work as well. It's
Yeah,
been cool talking with you, man. It's been good getting to know you more like
yeah,
this.
nice one, man. It's been fun.
Yeah, man. I think people will be able to find that interesting. Okay, one last question. If there was a teenage, there was a teenager that wanted to get started, get started with creating stuff and NFTs. Um, what sort of what could you say to a teenager that just wants to start creating, but has sort of all sorts of pressures to go into a 9 to 5 and university and all that?
I'd say figure out art before NFT. So, don't just get involved in the space because you want to do NFTs. People think NFT art is different from normal art. It's literally the same shit. It's just a different way of uploading it. So, you know, do art before you want to do NFT art. And then once you've done once you've created what you have, then get into that world.
Mm, mm,
So don't go in thinking, yeah, I'm going to make NFT art. This is going to make me a shitload of money, and all my art's only ever going to be available as an NFT, because that's not the way the game works. For example, if let's say, for example, tomorrow NFTs died, 99 well, I'd say a good 90% of artists would not be anything. Reason being is because they never had anything before the space. So people need to bear in mind that if this market does collapse, and what they're going to go back to.
mm. No, I think that's good advice. Find your art first, get comfortable in it as much as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, build a base, build a creative base, and then get into NFTs. I think, yeah, especially because a lot of people think you just get into NFTs and you get rich, and yeah, NFT art being different from normal art. Obviously, that's not true.
Yes, same shit, man.
Yeah, it's just art. Um, yeah, awesome, man. Thank you for sharing your story, your journey.
All
It's
good,
been
bro.
really cool. Yeah, for all the listeners, I encourage everyone to check out Numan's NFT collections for yourself on Rarible, which he's been primarily releasing them on. And yeah, follow him on Twitter and Instagram under Numan UK, and listen to his music as well on Spotify under Numan. And yeah, that's pretty much everything. It's been great chatting.
Yeah,
I'm
100%.
looking forward to see what you got coming in the future and how everything goes.
Perfect, bro. Speak soon. Nice one.
All the best, man. Take
Bye.
care. Bye.